How are you today? Today is Thursday. Um, what a week. I hope you're all getting on okay this week. Um, and I hope you're not having too many wobbly moments. And there will be wobbly moments. So I hope you're all keeping safe and well. So this is the one I've had a few queries from my clients, from people. How do I maintain my eyebrows at home? So there's a couple of different things I suppose I want to talk about today. So hopefully I remember everything as I'm going through this. But if not, I'm going to put some posts, products that I can retail online at the moment. And hopefully answer some of your questions as well. If not at this present moment, I'll certainly be able to answer them later on when maybe you can watch this in your own leisure. So as normal, I will share this onto the page. Some of you might not be free at this particular time, but you may be able to watch again later when you have the time and the patience to look after your eyebrows. So you probably see already I've kind of started to do one or two things with the eyebrows. The reason why I suppose I purposely did not put a to-do list or what you need for this today, because I just wanted you to be able to watch, and I will put up the things that you might need afterwards in the post below. So at least now you can kind of just watch, and then maybe you can try this when you have some time at the rest of the week. So first things first, anyone, if you are coming to the salon or are coming to see me at the minute, you know I'll probably have a certain amount of work that I've already done with you. So I'm hoping that for a lot of you that you have pretty much the bones of the shape, or you can see the bones of the shape there. So first thing that for a lot of you that you're probably noticing is the long hairs, the really, really long ones. They're getting curly, they're driving you crazy. And again, for some people, you know, getting the tweezers out might be a great stress reliever. So I know I have spoken to you before about hiding the tweezers, put them in a safe place. Some of you have forgotten where you've even hidden them. So I'm giving you a special pardon to take these bad boys out. But I'm going to give you some tools and skills and how to make sure you don't actually come back to me as bald as a cootie and we're back to square one again. So you're warned. First thing that you will need is a piece of thread. So for any of you who've got the $1 Billion Brows with me before, you know I use the $1 Billion Brow Buddy, and that's a great way for measuring where your brows should start, where they should arch, and where they should end naturally for your face shape, and most importantly your eye shape. So what I always say with regards to the $1 Billion Brows and any of the shaping that I do, this is not a stamp on your face. This is not a one-fits-all kind of brow. The kind of shaping work that I do, hi Cara, is basically that's fit to your face shape, and it fits to your eye shape, that it sits on your face as your brows were naturally intended. So first thing you will need, and I will put this in my what you will need list afterwards underneath the post, is you will need a piece of string. You will also need a pencil. Now again, for the purpose of this, for marking out, I have a brow pencil here that I'm using, but feel free to use a white pencil, whatever you can get your hands on. Let's do our marking. So for your face shape, we want to make out your start point. Now this is really important for a lot of you clients, because I've been helping you grow back your brow hair into here. So the danger is now is that I'm going to see you in a few months time or a few weeks time, I don't know, and basically the eyebrows are going to be back to here. So to help you measure that and to make sure you don't over tweeze these areas, the widest part of your nose, so here, widest part of your nose, that's where you're going to lay your string, and just line that up there, and that should roughly give you an idea of where your eyebrow should start. So if you've been growing your eyebrow hair, please try and not touch anything inside that line. If you're growing hair there, please try and continue to keep whatever's growing there for now. So roughly, that's my guide. I'm going to grab my pencil and I'm just going to do a line. Bum, 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 bum. You are going to have a great laugh at this. Anyways, so that's your rough kind of marking point. And I will need you to do this for me so you don't over tweeze, over pluck any areas that we've been working on. And you've been really working hard in these. Some of you for months, some of you for years. So please don't undo all this good work that you've been doing. Your next movement is towards your arch, okay? So the outer part of the iris, I suppose, or the pupil, I should say, sorry. So here in your nose, outer part of the pupil, that's roughly where your arch should be. Again, if you want to line it up. Okay, here. And then your last part is end of the nose, and where your eyelashes end, which is roughly about for me here. And again, I'm just kind of roughly doing this. Okay. And again, if you leave a bit of a dint in the skin, you can kind of see where it is and kind of mark. Now, I naturally just don't have any hair that grows down there. So generally what I do is I either lengthen it when I'm putting on a full face of makeup, or that's just my guide. Okay. So let's say that's just my guide. What I've done next, and what's really, really important, this is basically going around this in a roundabout way. The next thing I would advise you to do is to fill in the brow as you normally would fill in your brow. And this will make sense to you in a minute. So what I'm going to do here is I've done with the pencil, just some upward strokes. I've gone across my frame of my brow and all the way down. Roughly fill it in, but fill it in the way you would normally fill your brows in, so you can see your shape. Now, what that's going to do is that's going to give you the area that you can tweeze, okay? So you have the area here. Now, my eyebrow hair personally, because I've tweezed and plucked for so many years before I got the semi-permanent done, I don't really have too much regrowth. It tends to come in stages. But for those of you, and I know there's a lot of you that will be getting heavy growth, you'll be getting coarse growth, if you feel the need to go in with the tweezers, please do. So this is giving you all the area that you can tweeze. So once you've filled in your brow, you know your markings, you can go ahead and tweeze all those crazy ones. I don't know why I'm worried about keeping this tidy, but you can worry about all these crazy ones here and take these away. When it comes to the top line, so a lot of you are growing the top line for me, you're going to go to the fullest part. So where you can see hairs growing along your frame, you're going to keep those there. Particularly for your tails as well, for any of you who are trying to go back your end point. Come out to the furthest point that you can see hairs growing. So for some of you that may be here, if you've naturally got a slim brow, for those of you that have fuller brow, come out until you can see the highest hair here. And then fill it in and take from the top. Probably my best advice to give you for the moment is to concentrate on just taking the hairs underneath here if you're a little bit concerned and you don't want to do damage, and leave the hairs up here. And that, you know, that will hopefully, we'll have a whole new set of growth that's been done by the time I see you next. So that's just to concentrate here. For most of my clients, when I see you, the main areas of concern that we're trying to regrow is your end point from here to here, so there's not too short, and also your starting point. So generally most people come in and they need work done over here. So make sure with your piece of string, just to recap, it doesn't have to be pretty, but it's just giving you the frame so you can work at home. You're using the string, the widest part of the nose, and laying it up. And that should tell you naturally where your brow should start. So it means everything inside of that, do not remove or do not tweeze. All right? Okay. And you can use your pencil to give you the guide. The next one is into the outer part of the pupil. So lay it in the corner of your nose. See here? So see here? Outer part of the pupil, and that will give you your arch. So again, the danger is if you start tweezing too close, you're going to end up with a very, very sharp arch, and then this is going to lend to a very, very skinny end. So when you have them filled in afterwards, and the reason I'm asking you to fill in first is to eliminate that damage that you could potentially do here, but also for a lot of people that I see coming into me in the past, that temptation to over tweeze and dig into your arch. Okay, so you don't want to destroy the arch, because if you destroy the arch, you ultimately are going to end up trying to tweeze down along here to balance, and the result is you could end up with a very short end or a very, very skinny end. Does that make sense? Last part, lay it against the nose, come out to the end of the lashes, and that will give you your end line. So you're allowed to tweeze any stragglers down here. You're allowed to tweeze any stragglers on here. Any hair that is, and I am teasing out here or training out, just leave. Leave for me. Leave me some work to do when I see you next, okay? But not too much work. All right. So I hope that makes sense. If you can give me a thumbs up if any of you are watching, just to make sure that what I'm saying is making sense and it's, you know, you're hearing it basically. So this looks funny. So again, on the other side, what I'm just going to use now really quick is, where did I put them? Oh yeah. So just so I don't look too scary, I'm just going to use my Moxies. Can I get this out? So these are great. They're just the Moxie Catcher. They basically just move the fluid down to the bottom, and it allows me just to tidy up. Clean up along here so I look a little bit more respectable. Thanks for the likes. I'm hoping that this makes sense for you. So just to recap, the main thing is the piece of string. Figure out your start, your arch and your end, roughly. Fill in your brow as you want to see your brow in a normal day. So fill in your dream brow. So fill in the dream brow, and then that's giving you how much room you have and how many hairs that you can take. Be careful here and be careful here. You don't want to ruin your shape. And lastly, don't dig into your arch. For most of you that are coming to me a long time, you should see the frame naturally, so that will help you. Okay, my next pointer on trimming the brow hair. Now, for a lot of you guys, you might not even bother with this. It's not important. For some of you, you might not necessarily get huge length. I do have a lot of you though that I know you get long curly hairs, you get coarse hairs, and I'll come to colour in a second. I know you're all waiting for me to talk about that one. So, few little pointers. Yes. So I have all my little brow tools here. So I'm just going to get my brow brush. So I have one here from Billion Dollar Brows. And basically what I'm going to do now, I actually trimmed these a few weeks ago actually. My growth has been quite slow, but I do usually have much longer than this. So with the spoolie, and again, this was the Billion Dollar Brows men's tweezers. So they have a little comb on the end, which is really cool actually. But I'm conscious that, you know, a lot of you won't have access to this type of comb, or else you can hack, if you've men in the house, maybe hack and they're into grooming, something like that. So it's really good. A lot of barbers have them too. So you basically brush up here. For most of you, if you've a spoolie, brush up here. Okay, if you see the frame of the brow for me naturally ends here. Any hair that comes over that line, you can trim. The only thing I will say, if you're going to tackle this and trim this, don't worry if you hack hair, because probably it's going to be another couple of weeks before you get back in to see me. So hopefully your the length of the hair grows quicker than the volume of hair. Okay, so we're brushing up. And I'm just putting the brush at the very top of the frame. And then all I'm doing is I'm trimming off. Now for some of you, the length of the hair might come all the way up. And I'm going, okay. Now my hair tends to get shorter and finer. Again, this is just semi-permanent that I have done. It tends to get shorter and finer towards the end, so I try and keep that there. For most of you, this is where you might get your bulk. So you can brush upwards and trim, or for most of you get that long hairs, you can brush downwards to get those curly ones. Now, can you see here? So again, come to where you can't see your eyebrow. You don't want to hack off too much, so I'm going to do it from this way. So just underneath. And just trim. Now again, mine are short, but I know for some of you that might mean they're very long. If you're in doubt, what I will say, and if you've got very curly brow hair, trim it at the kink. So literally where the hair starts to curl, trim it there. So for those of you, you might just be able to look into the mirror and just trim it at the kink. So when it goes into the curl, trim it there. So that just means that you're able to see your shape and you're able to fill it in and you feel some way normal for the next bit of time. So I hope that makes sense. So the trimming of the hair, be very, very careful. And if you do trim off a little bit too much, don't worry. It's not as bad as over tweezing or over plucking, so I'll forgive you for that one. Please give me a thumbs up if this is making any sense and that the content is relevant, so that'll be great. So it'll stop me from rambling on, because I do like to talk. Last pointer is colour, and probably in the ranking of eyebrows, thank you, in the ranking of eyebrows, the colour probably isn't the most important thing at the minute. I purposely didn't bring home any tint with me from the salon, because who's going to see me, and I'm actually curious to see how many grey hairs I'm actually going to have in my eyebrows by the time this is all over. So what I will say to you about colour, the most important thing, I know some of you might be using dye at home. Some of you might be dyeing your hair at home, and you might be tempted to put it in your eyebrows. If you've been using and have been using up to this hair dye products at home, and hairdressers, you can come in and comment along here, you know, and you want to try it on your eyebrows, I'm not really a big fan of it, to be honest, but if you've done it before and it works for you, you can continue on as normal. If you're sensitive, if you've never done box dye at home, or you don't DIY dye your hair at home, just avoid it. You don't know what ingredients are in these products. You don't know your own sensitivities when it comes to the skin. So I would just avoid trying to DIY colour or DIY tint your brows at home. And that's just my guidelines on it. Again, I can only stand by the brands and the products that I have used over the years, so I know the limitations when it comes to those. I can't advise you on the limitations of all the different dyes and box tints and DIY stuff that's out there at the minute. And also, it's also relevant for the kit. If you are going to take the plunge and you just can't help it, what I would suggest is do a 24-hour patch test on your skin before you use anything that you haven't used before on your skin. Leave it for 24 hours and make sure that you're not going to have a reaction. Again, that's just if you're really, really tempted, but at the end of the day, I think the colour is, you know, we can fill in our brows, we can do all those things. If you're not used to colouring your eyebrows at home, just wait until you can see a professional again. The other thing I will mention when it comes to brow hair is, and I don't know if you can see them there, but I definitely have a few grey ones there. When it comes to grey hair, the root on a grey eyebrow hair tends to be very, very, very thick. And quite painful when you're pulling out any of the white or coarse hairs. What I would advise you is, sometimes what I see when I'm meeting clients is clients who have gone in, maybe, and myself included actually, which has happened, you see the grey hair and you're tempted to pull it out. Because the root on that hair is generally quite large, you can actually leave yourself with quite a substantial gap in your eyebrow hair. So I would generally try and avoid this as much as possible. So you can trim safely, you can tweeze safely, but try and avoid pulling out any of your grey or white hairs, particularly in the brow or on your brow line, because they could leave a substantial gap in your brow. So your best bet at this point in time is to try and just fill in your brows, but by trimming the hair, tweezing only where you need to, bearing in mind your lines, that will just help you over the next foreseeable future. So lastly, when it comes to brow filling, I'm just going to do some quick tips and tricks. So I have a lot of products. The brand I carry, as you know, is Billion Dollar Brows. So we have a lot of products from the brow powder, and these are all taupe that I'm featuring today. This is my personal favourite, which is the taupe brow pomade or the brow gel. And I also have the best-selling original pencil, which is the Universal Brow Pencil. It's also in micro form or triangular form in the taupe kind of shade. So really, really good. So what I'm going to use is a lot of you are using gel at the minute. It's my personal favourite. So basically, to get your brow brush, normally when I'm filling in the brows, and again, I'm looking at the camera here, so forgive me if all my lines aren't up, I actually start a little bit further back. So I just, with short kind of movements, I literally just run the brush along. So that helps to line out your frame. So if you're afraid that you might tweeze any of these hairs, This is why I'm saying fill in your brows first, cover over all the work that we're trying to grow out so you're not tempted to tweeze these away. So this is my, let's say, underline. It doesn't matter if you're not filling this out perfect, because you just want to kind of safely protect all of that work that you're trying to. Thanks, Emma. Thank you. Just you're trying to protect all of that hard work that you've been doing with your eyebrows. So I've got my bottom line filled out, and again, you can also use this with the powder. If you don't have the perfect brow gel or brow powder at the minute, just use a neutral matte brown eyeshadow. You know, before I set up the salon years ago, that is literally how I used to fill in my brow. I had a brown eyeshadow, I had a brush, and that's how I filled it in. So just because you mightn't have all the perfect tools at your disposal, just dig deep into your makeup kit, and really what you're trying to do is protect the brow. So I'm just getting some brow powder this time. Again, it's the taupe universal shade from Billion Dollar Brows. This time I'm coming back and I'm starting away for the brow. Now, a lot of you might be wondering why I'm starting in the middle section. For most of you, the middle section is your densest section of hair growth, okay? And basically, if we start in here with the full amount of product on our brush, you can end up with very aggressive looking brows and very angry looking brows. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get all of this colour out here, and whatever you've left over on your brush, you're going to come back in here and fill out your inner part. So it kind of is along that line of the eyebrow trend of kind of just washing the brow, or that kind of brow balayage kind of look. So once I've got my frame then out to the end, I'm just going to fill in the centre. Now I have a mirror with me too, so I'm just making sure I'm not going too completely crazy here. Now whatever's left over on my brow brush, so I've been moving the brow brush to the side, if that makes sense. So this way. Ooh, let me see. This way. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the brow brush this way, and I'm going to move upwards, so with the longest point here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick that colour upwards, and you can brush the brow hair forward. For me, I'm kind of sparse a little bit on the hair, so I'm just going to brush it up forward just to give it a softer finish at the start, but also to finish out my brows. Is anyone losing all the days of the week? It's hard to believe this is Thursday. Okay, I can see a little straggler here, so I'm just going to go in with my scissors. You could have created a monster here now. I'll be at this for the rest of the day. Okay. Last little tip. If you're not perfect at filling in your brows, and I know a lot of my clients always criticize their own work and stuff, your work is brilliant. If you have made a few boo-boos, so because I was lining out the brows here, this looks a bit, it could be a bit tidier. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to get some concealer. Now I actually forgot to bring my concealer with me. Put some concealer on a brush. So again, this is the Billion Dollar Brows one, and literally use your concealer as an eraser. So literally apply your concealer all the way along here, just to tidy up some lines. And you know what, even without anything on the brush, you'll actually find it cleans up that for you. Come along here and just clean up any boo-boos that you've made. Again, come along here. Thanks, Siobhan. I hope you're well. My frontline queen. And then down here. Okay. Ta-da! That looks a bit tidier already. Anything else that I want to say? Any other questions when you watch this again, just send me. So what I will say, of course, at the moment I have like all my stock that I have left at home. So I'm doing my online business as usual. I am going to put up what products I have left in stock from the Billion Dollar Brow range. So if anyone's thinking they might want to treat themselves to something, That's all going to be there online. I'm not going to use this as a platform to kind of promote all my products, but that function is there. The Facebook shop is there, the website, the checkout, so I can check out over the phone. That's all integrated, and I can also check out on PayPal. That's all there for you to use, and whatever stock I have left at the minute. Aside from that, if you have any more questions with regards to trimming the eyebrow hair, how to get your measurements and make sure you get your piece of string, I'm going to put this all up for you now. So your piece of string here and here, and the importance of filling in your brows first before you tweeze. So fill in your brows first. You're filling in your brows for the pure purpose of protecting all of that hard work that you've been doing. So protect all of that work with your brow pencil. It doesn't matter if you create a crazy shape, but just leave yourself the playground which you can tweeze from, okay? And then in here for some of you, all right? With the coarse hair, if you're nervous about trimming, and it gets very curly, just trim at the kink. Be very, very careful when it comes to self-dyeing your brows at home. Again, I would not recommend to do it because I can only stand by the products that I use in the salon, but just to be careful when it comes to that. If you are tempted at any stage, please do a 24-hour patch test on your wrist just to make sure you don't have any reaction. The last thing you need is a big bulging eye right now. We all need to keep ourselves well and healthy. Avoid pulling out your white or your grey hairs because the root on that are quite big and you could end up leaving yourself with a substantial gap. Now, like I said, this is a trial. I don't know how many grey hairs I'm going to have by the end of all this. But anyways, that's the little experiment I'm doing. So, and then just some filling in tips. If you found this useful, hi Saskia, how are you? If you found this useful, please send me your questions, please send me your links. I'm hoping the lighting is kind of okay. I probably will do some more things on eyebrows again, maybe in another week, depending on if people need it. I hope you're all keeping really well, and thanks so much for watching me. It's really, really good to connect with you. I hope your days are full, and there will be wobbly moments, and I know I've already had a wobbly moment this week, but it will pass, it will pass, it will pass. So just try and put your best foot forward when you're getting out of bed in the morning. Set your intention for a good day. Limit the amount of negative social media and limit the amount of news that you're exposing yourself to, and try and just come up with some new things. Try and do all those things you've always wished you could do if you had the time. And again, if you want more positive inspo, you can follow me on my normal pages, Katrina McMorris. Thanks Siobhan. Thanks for watching. I'm going to share this now on my Facebook page and put up some following posts, and I hope to see you and talk to you again soon. Have a great day. Mwah.